Unscripted, unshackled, uncouth.
What you're about to hear is for more mature audiences only.
It's Miguel and Holly Uncensored.
Hello and welcome to Miguel and Holly Uncensored. This is our off-air podcast that we do 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can also now hear our Sunday sessions. And I believe producer Kelvin is up this week, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he knows that, but yes, he is.
Well, we got to tell him. So hopefully you'll hear Kelvin's podcast on Sunday at noon for our Sunday sessions. And then I'm next week and then so forth and so forth. I'm super, super excited about today's podcast.
Mhm.
If you are a longtime Platypus Posse member or Miguel and Holly fan member, you know that we've done so many segments for the years about our Mount Rushmore of artists. So Holly, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of artists?
Oh gosh, I mean, I would say Lady Gaga is up there. Also, forever and always, Britney Spears.
Right.
Weirdly, not weirdly. I mean, it is what it is. But also, I would say if we want to, you sprung this on me.
Sorry,
but
I didn't prepare you for it.
You did not. But in that wheelhouse, I guess, and
Right.
like Fall Out Boy is in my Mount Rushmore, and probably I would say what
I think it's just 4, or is it 5?
it's 4.
It's 4. Yeah, you said 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
There it is.
yeah. So those are all the people that you love. So for mine, it's Beyonce,
Mm-hmm.
Whitney Houston,
Mm-hmm.
weirdly white guy John Mayer,
No, that's not weird. You have had a love of John Mayer for a long time.
and then of course Tina Turner. I've always loved Tina Turner. My mom probably, when I was super young, probably should not have let me watch What's Love Got to Do with It, her biography, but I sure was.
Well, you were watching everything when you
I
were
was like little young gay Miguel was like, not what he doing to Anime Girl. Ooh. And so when the Tina Turner musical debuted on Broadway, it was such a cool moment as a fan of hers for a long time to see her get her flowers before she
Mhm.
passed on.
Yeah.
And so then when it was announced, I think a year ago, that the Tina Turner musical was coming to Charlotte, I told Abe, I was like, I know we're saving money in 2025, but we are going to see the show.
Mhm.
And we have the amazing opportunity to introduce and talk to the woman who's playing Tina Turner in Charlotte, Meghan Dawson.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be here.
Oh my goodness. So first off, before we get into you being able to play the role of Tina Turner, I was looking through your Instagram preparing for the interview, and I love the gratitude that you have. So you have this amazing post on your Instagram, I guess when you got the part to play Tina on the road. And I just thought this was real cool. So I wanted to share with our podcast listeners your post. You said Tudor Queen, check, because you were in Six the Musical.
Which is amazing.
Queen of Soul, check. Queen of Rock and Roll, naturally. So many personal wounds are being healed by my telling of this story. I'm thankful to be chosen, held in all the ways I am by this phenomenal woman. To this absolutely insane cast, thank you. To me, you go, girl. How amazing.
Whew. I'm sitting here with chills like I ain't write it. I'm like, that was good.
You're like, ooh, who wrote that? That's real good.
I love it.
Whew. And
I love it.
it's crazy because it feels like that was so far away. You know, like the show is it's so big that even since I think February or March when I debuted, it's like, whew, even more grateful now, even more.
I'm sure it's been a whirlwind.
Absolutely. That is the word for it. And I use that 20 times a day.
Oh, I can only imagine. Well, Meghan, before we get to, you playing the part of Tina, let's sort of get to know you, the woman behind the part that's putting the power and the passion. I mean, and just looking through your Instagram, I mean, you just seem to be surrounded by love and you love what you do. What got you to this moment?
A lot of work, a lot of love, a lot of faith. I think the thing that people ask me a lot that I find most parallels me with Tina is there were, as talented as I know I am, there were a lot of people in my journey that did not believe in me, did not think I could do what I knew I could do. And, it was constantly just that, okay, okay.
I
As
got you.
in, you may not be able to come with me on this next journey, but I know what I can do. And just, I think there's so many stories of women, especially Black women, that can be told, that we've done phenomenal things, literally just on our own backs, of having support under us, yes, but the support above us that we need to really, have people believing in us and opening those doors isn't always there. So I think that's what genuinely got me here, was just that faith and that belief in what I had and that I could be here. And people ask me all the time, have you auditioned for Tina before? Like, how did we miss you? And the audition just never came. It came at the exact right moment.
So what got you into theater and wanting to tell stories like this?
So I am from South Louisiana, more South than people probably know exists. I am from a little bitty town called Gray, Louisiana, Gray, like the color. And we're about an hour more south of New Orleans. So we are right there on the water. And I didn't even grow up knowing you could go to college for music. I didn't grow up in church singing. A lot of my family didn't even know I sang. This is a surprise to many. But yeah, I grew up watching Tyler Perry Medea plays. I started singing in the choir when I was in 10th, 11th grade. And it was, like I said, you about to graduate by then. That it was around 11th, 12th grade that I found out that you could go to school for music, you could go to school for singing and instruments and all these things. And it wasn't until I was in school under an opera degree, because that was the closest thing that we had to musical theater where I was, that we had one musical theater class that while I was there was downgraded to a club, because it's just, we already fight about the arts not really being a priority in certain spaces. And we had a showcase at the end of the year, not for any agents or anything like that, just for our family to come see. And the choreographer of that showcase was like, have you ever thought about doing cruise ships? I think you would be great doing cruise ships. Like, you need to leave here. Cruise ship. And I was like, well, I come from a single mom, so I don't know if I could just leave school like that. But that's what ignited the fire. And just from one person telling me, I think you would be really good doing this, it opened my eyes, because I had never been on a cruise. I knew nothing about that world. I really didn't know anything about musical theater either. But it really only takes one person. I knew what I enjoyed, growing up watching the Tyler Perry plays, which, people have different opinions. But for someone like me, that was the only thing I had as far as theater. The first theater experience I had was watching Rent when it came out as a movie. So when we talk about even today, these live actions or these, Wicked being in theaters, for some people, that is the first taste of theater they will get, because even today, it's still not that accessible. So yeah, just that one person believing in me, and I fell in love with it. I did cruise ships, and then cruise ships became, well, now it's time to move to New York, which became, oh, now it's time let's audition for these tours. I did 6. I did an Aretha Franklin tribute concert. And I think just the more I worked, the more I honed my skills and learned myself as a person. And thankfully it got me here.
Did you have like voice lessons at any point to hone, like you said?
So once again, I grew up singing in my room. And there's a very funny story of my god sister actually believing that I couldn't sing because she would hear me. And I would sing with headphones on, loud as I don't know what, couldn't hear anything, sounding crazy. And I'll never forget my mom knocking on my door one day, and she went, baby, do you know how you sound? No. I'm just screaming. Didn't care. But it was, I didn't have any training. I just knew what felt good. I liked how instruments sounded. I liked rock and jazz and bluegrass and modeling my voice after instruments. So when I say I went to school, and I wasn't at a school that had a musical theater program, I was in the opera degree. So yeah, everything was about voice. I was taking voice lessons. I was taking music theory. I was taking pedagogy, all of those things that I wasn't very great at. I was very good at singing, and that was kind of where the buck stopped. But yeah, many, many, many voice lessons, which I think while being operatically trained, I'm sure did help me in some way. I think the biggest thing that it taught me was how to be a smart singer, how to really, really know your voice and know when things need to be tapered, when things need to pull back, things like that. And even doing Tina, there's an incredible voice coach that works with a lot of the Tinas. I personally have not worked with her. But everybody kind of has their own approach. And I always think about like rock singers and gospel singers that you don't often hear of them losing their voice and stuff like that. And, they squalling up to high heavens. And I'm not going to say that's me. But I will say I know that I have something very special that I have been blessed with, that it's a very big duty to take care of, because a lot of the things that I do, I don't know how. I just know how to put it up, how to cool it down and protect it. But it really is kind of on me to make sure, like, because nobody knows you like you know yourself.
Right.
So true.
Just using that in the training that I have, because I wasn't in school for the entire time to get the degree because I left for work. But I don't want to say it, but I will say I feel like life has been one of my best vocal teachers.
It's true.
I love
That's
that.
when you just have the natural talent.
You have to have raw talent to make it to where you have made it. You have to. Singing is not something that you can just learn. You can get better with your skill.
Yeah.
But being able to do what you are doing, that's just, you were born that way.
And you just say,
I think it's beautiful.
as you're telling this story, Megan, I know I can speak for Holly in this because we've worked together for now, 20 years, almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Just about.
Y'all look good.
Yes. We know each other really well, but we both love to perform, but neither of us are singers. And I would have loved to be in my room singing, and my mom walked in and be like, "Oh my God, you can sing." She was more
that
like,
wasn't my experience. I told you, no, like when my mom was like, "Do you know how you sound?" It was in concern.
"Oh,
Yes,
I thought she was like,
No,
oh,
no,
you're
no.
singing so beautifully."
That's
no,
the gag.
it was
That's the
like-
gag. I was in my room with these headphones, screaming, singing down, and my mom was like,
She's like, "No."
and she never dissuaded me, but she said with love,
Right.
"You know how you sound."
Right. Right.
And that's when I started to take the headphones off, because I said maybe I should know how I sound.
But the power was there.
Right.
Hearing is fundamental.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? And I can't hear because I can't carry a tune to say my life, girl.
I'm a good I can do it. I'm in a chorus. I'm good. The alto rolls.
And we need a chorus. I ain't nothing without the ensemble.
This is what I'm saying. Everybody's got a role to play.
So, Megan, what was that moment when you did take the headphones off and you are listening to yourself and matching it, that you were like, there's something here?
I get that question a lot, and I honestly can't say.
Mm.
But I think there was definitely a moment, not so much that I said, "Oh, I have something," but you know how sometimes there are certain things that you do, and there's that moment of like, "Oh, I didn't know other people couldn't do this." Not so much of like, "Oh, it's about me." It's about me. Just like, "Oh, wait."
Right.
Because I will say, being in this show has definitely made me understand that I do have something that's very, very kind of crazy in the most humble way possible. But I always grew up, and I think it goes to show like the type of mom that I had, that I just thought, everyone has something. We may not have the same things, but everyone has something. And I think maybe like late high school, I wasn't very young, like doing these showcases and talent shows and killing it and all those things. I sang and did things here and there, but I never felt like I was anything different or special. Because like I said, I was raised to think, everybody has something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt like I was a little different in the way of vocals, but definitely not to this magnitude at all.
What was it like auditioning for Tina?
It all happened very, very fast. Most of the people in the show had auditioned before, or had been in and out and things like that. I saw a breakdown in November. I sent in something. They sent me something back to say, "Hey, we love you. We're gonna break for the holiday." And then I heard nothing until January, which by then spiraling.
Right.
And they were like, "Hey, we're interested in you, but we don't know when the next round is going to be." I said, "Great."
Okay.
And then like mid-January, it was literally a week where I had like an audition one day, I had a callback, and then I had finals by Friday. And then 2 hours after the final, I got the text that was like, "Hey, we want you. We'll send you the contract in a couple of hours." And I was like,
Oh my God, 1 week.
"Oh, yeah." After, like I
Oh
say,
my gosh.
months of just
Right.
not knowing. And I had never auditioned for the show before. I was someone who thought, I never saw Tina for myself. I thought, maybe ensemble or something. But even that, I didn't think I was a strong enough dancer to be an ICAT or anything like that. But it was, at the time, it was for the Tina alternate, who the role is so big, it's usually split up between a couple of different, understudies. So no one person is having to do 8 shows a week. It's a 3-hour show.
Oh,
So
wow.
even that was even me playing it kind of small, of like, well, I don't know if I could be Tina, but I could maybe do it like 2 times a week. I never could have imagined that I would be here now doing press as full-time Tina, but it all happened very fast.
That's amazing.
Where were you when you got that text?
I was I had the final, and sometimes you just know. And the 2 girls that I was in finals with were incredible. We actually all ended up booking the show as different roles, but we were all in for the alternate. And we got along so well. I made the joke, like, "Oh, maybe we'll all book it. I'm going to see y'all at rehearsal." That's what we did. But I finished, I did the final, and I felt good. I felt like I said, "You know what? I'm about to go to McDonald's." And I did. I did. Look, I got my McDonald's, and I got home. And as soon as I got through that door, I got a text. I was in my apartment. I got a text from the casting agent and was like, "Hey, just letting you know, we want to offer you the role. We'll send you paperwork by tonight. Great job today." And I was just like, it was just so casual.
Right.
Yes. And you're like, "Oh, my life's changing now." So
Yeah. And it's just a text.
Okay.
God. And how did your life change then? I mean, what happened from that moment on to, like, obviously here you are now, but that moment was not that very long ago. So what's been the craziest part of that change?
Honestly, everything. Initially, I got the offer, and that night they sent me a rough schedule breakdown of like when I would be joining the cast and etc. But what it said was that rehearsals would start in literally like 2 or 3 days. And at this time, the cast was in Canada, and it wasn't known yet whether I would be rehearsing in New York or in Canada. So there was a potential that I could have been flying out in 3 days. Didn't have a sublet for my apartment, hadn't even told my day job, hadn't told my mama. Like,
Oh my God.
and of course, in situations like that, a lot of times the people that you're communicating with may not have the answers to all the things that you need to know at once. So it was a lot of scrambling and trying to figure things out. And in the like 2 or 3 days coming, I found out that there was actually like an entire boot camp that I was going to be doing in New York, just to learn choreography, to learn the fight choreography, which I had no experience with. I've never done fight choreography in the show. I don't have a musical theater degree. I didn't know anything about it. But yeah, I had about a week off in which I had COVID and was extremely sick.
Oh.
And the first day I tested negative was the first day of rehearsals.
Oh my God.
And I went in with a mask. It was just me and like the table that was watching. And I told them, I was like, "I'm negative. I'm fine. I don't know what my lung capacity is, but I'm here."
Mhm.
I had a week of boot camp with one of the girls that I was in finals with, and then flew out to Canada. So I joined the team as an alternate, doing the matinees, and then I was speaking with the lead one day, and she had asked me if I could take over one of the shows because she was going to be calling out because she wasn't feeling well. I said, sure, that's fine. That day came, and I woke up to an email of, hey, we'd like you to take over full time. And I, circumstances, things happen. I get it. People have to come and go all the time. But I that's how I responded. I was just like,
Yeah. Here you are. It's time. Go.
Absolutely. And I think from the moment I booked it to even being asked to take over full time, the one thing that I can say that I'm very thankful for is I felt ready. As wild and as quick as it was, I think if this opportunity would have came at any other time, like any other age in my life, or when I hadn't had the experiences and the lived experiences that I had, even down to just being alone for the pandemic, I really felt ready. I felt ready to tell the story, and I felt ready to do it full time. And I think that's what's helped me the most, is feeling in my gut that I'm ready and I belong. I'm meant to be here.
Wow. Because a lot of people don't feel ready. And then it's a situation where you're like, well, I'm going to do it anyway, even though I feel a little bit like maybe I'm not there yet. And then they kind of like do it in, like, what we could say.
Into it.
Yes. Or like you leap and the net appears or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But to feel ready, that's a blessing in itself. I'm so glad that you were able to. And you said, living alone during the pandemic, is that what you said was part of that process?
Absolutely. I think being away from the arts for the time that we had during the pandemic, for me personally, it made me a better artist, because I firmly believe, like, some people are just magicians, but for the normal actor, you can really only approach a character to the degree with which you've met yourself. And I think the pandemic really had us kind of, just sit down. I braid hair, and I did that full time during the pandemic. And being in the service industry as a caregiver to predominantly Black women and girls, it taught me a lot about myself. And just, I think, like I said, it made me a better performer, because I'm able to bring a level of honesty to Tina that I don't think I had before. And I think it also brought a lot more unapologeticness to me and myself as a performer, because, like I said, I started out in opera, and I had to unlearn a lot of stuff. I had to, don't talk like that. Don't dress like that. Don't act like that, because this is the opera world. Then switching to musical theater. And then even the pandemic, when some people felt like they had lost everything. Some people did lose everything. To kind of just approaching it now as like, theater is not that deep. It's how are we treating ourselves and each other in our day-to-day? And I think that the woman that Tina was, she was fiercely loyal to herself and her people. And she was very unapologetic in who she was and what she wanted. And coming into a job like this is something that I tell the understudies a lot that may have nerves or things around portraying Tina and doing a show this big, is the thing that scares you is what's going to help you, because this show is so big. You don't have any room to think about, oh, I cracked, oh, I tripped, oh, I did it. Baby, we got 3 more hours. So, literally, and that's been my biggest teaching point too, is, sometimes you have a bad audition and you think about it for the whole week. You think about it for the rest of the day. Whereas this show, you have to keep going. You got to literally steamroll and keep going, because the second you let any little one thing in your head, you can't make it to the next building block. And that, thing that I've learned with this show has taken me throughout life now. And I couldn't be more grateful for that.
What's been the biggest takeaway from sort of studying and embodying Tina Turner? Because if you don't, I always encourage people, the day that she passed, I had a new friend at the time, who was coming over to have a little movie night, and she passed that day. And I was like, oh, girl, sorry. We about to watch a Tina Turner documentary on HBO. Yeah. And he didn't know anything outside of like, what's love got to do with it? And I was like, oh, you about to learn today. You about to learn today. And he was like, she's been around for that long. She went through all of that. And so if I encourage you so much to go watch her documentary
So
on
good.
HBO, and then watched What's Love Got to Do with It. But outside of those things, now that you've embodied her and you have become her, what have you taken away from Tina Turner's life in essence?
The number one token is believe in yourself, but truly
Right.
believe
Right.
in yourself. Whenever I felt like 6 was for me years ago, and when I said, if it ever comes to the US, I will be in this show. I will be in the show. I will be in the show. When I first brought it up to my agent at the time, she told me, I don't think you're a strong enough dancer for this. And she said, but if I see something, I'll let you know. But I saw something, which is why I submitted for it for myself. I booked it for myself. No matter how crazy it sounds or it feels, if you know in your heart that you have something and you feel like you can do it, that is the only thing that matters. That, and also everybody don't need to know everything. Because as much as we know about Tina, that is just scratching the surface. And if you enjoyed her documentary, I would definitely say read her books. I read I, Tina a while back. I believe I, Tina was the book that inspired the movie, as far as like people read that story and they said, oh, this should be a movie. It does dive deep into a lot of, the abuse and things like that. But she also has, I think it's called My Love Story. And that she dives a lot deeper into her later years. And it's just so much that we don't know about the things that she was battling while being this superstar in her 40s, 50s, 60s, and things like that. Because she didn't feel like people needed to know. And what was important was her tribe respected that. Because even down to, her being ill and the things that she was doing, and even how she felt about making a musical. Everybody don't need to know everything, and surround yourself with people who get that and don't push, you're this superstar, so people need to, everybody needs to know everything. And I'm a yapper, so I'm but it's true. And I like I say, I think that the tribe is very important, of people that are not just benefiting from you, but are really there for you, and they don't feel like they can make a profit off of your lows and your highs.
And I think especially in today's world with social media, where we feel like we have to document everything,
and everyone deserves to know all the little minutia of your life.
Right. Where it's like sometimes you keep some things back for yourself,
yes,
and for your partner, and we don't have to document every single little thing in your life.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
when you're on stage and you're like singing the songs and you're going through the dance moves, is there one part that sort of like chokes you up, or you get extra emotional? You're like, all right, here comes the well of emotions. I gotta watch it.
It's different every night. It's different every night, depending on what I went through that day, or what's, something that always feels, I'm a very big advocate for my inner child, like as if she's a separate person. I'm trying to think of who was it. I think it's Mary J. Blige. She has a documentary where she literally talks about her younger self, kind of in the third person, and she'll affectionately say, like, that's my baby. And I think about that often, of just having that physical inner child. And that, coupled with, I didn't grow up with my paternal grandmother, my dad's mother, but I am named after her. I am told by everyone that I look just like her and act just like her, and she ain't play. But just, I think being a Black woman, there's a part of me that has always felt very disconnected, not having, that connection. And in the show, I'm able to have, a Black grandmother that I live with. She raised me. And I also have a physical inner child that continuously, both of them come back in times of struggle for her during that show, without giving too much away. And those are always very tender moments for me, because I feel that and I see that. And also Simply the Best always gets me, because the audio engineers of this show are magnificent. But they have actually tapered the ensemble sound to where it sounds like she's singing with 180,000 audience members, like she was during her concert. It is the most surreal moment. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. But that moment, all like that gives I am Beyonce at MetLife right now.
Yes. Oh.
So
Girl.
those are, yeah, it's different every night. Some nights, I could be going through something and I'll sing a random line and start getting teary. And I'm like, come on now, lock it. But that inner child and that grandma and that Simply the Best, nothing like it.
My goodness. Well, I'm so excited. Because we do a morning show, and so we're up. I wake up at 3:15 every morning.
Whew.
And so I come to press nights for the musicals, and normally, I'm so sorry, I usually have to leave at intermission, but I plan on staying the entire time for this one, and I am so excited. And I know my husband, I told him, I'm like, just get ready.
Yeah.
Just
you better
ready.
bring a whole Kleenex.
Oh, look, and I'm not joking. This show is it's a ride. It is a ride. I mean, every single emotion you can think of. I'll say it. I think this is the hardest role written for a woman in theater because you have big shows where people are singing big songs, but there are no shows that you are singing to this magnitude, dancing to this magnitude, fighting to this magnitude, acting, screaming for 3 hours straight. I get no breaks. My only breaks are my 10-second quick changes.
My gosh.
So the stamina and the emotional bandwidth it takes to just stay on for that long is truly a feat. And anybody who has done the role of Tina can tell you it is teaching beyond compare, truly. So it's long and it's late, and I know we tired, but if you come and stay for the entire thing, I promise you will not regret it. It's a musical unlike any musical you've ever seen before.
It's so worth it. I mean, and just in my little tiny world, like Proud Mary is my karaoke song. And like I go on cruises every summer and I always break it out once and then I become the Proud Mary guy on the cruise ship that week. But what I always joke about and what I realized a few years ago is I always do it like we've been drinking all day and like halfway through the song, like I'm tired. There was one time, I think we did it for like a Christmas party years ago. So I was sober when I did it, but I like went full force through it. And I was like, at the time I was 31. I'm like, I'm 31. I'm exhausted by doing 3 minutes. Can you imagine Tina Turner was in her 60s on stage performing that whole dang time?
Yep.
Girl.
Just the choreography of us running up and down the stairs in the US. And that was the least of her drama.
Right.
She was running on the cherry picker and,
just up there getting it.
Yes.
And I don't know if y'all have ever seen the iconic, one of my favorite photos of her literally hanging from the Eiffel Tower in stilettos. And she wasn't doing this at 21.
No, which is the best. Oh,
man.
Incredible. Fearless.
Well, Meghan Dawson, she is starring in Tina, the Tina Turner musical. It's going to be here in Charlotte starting on Tuesday, and it goes through next weekend. You can get tickets now through Blumenthal. How can people find you if they're inspired by your story and they want to just keep up with you on social media? How can they follow you, Meghan?
So I am on Instagram as Mox Dawson, MOX Dawson. I'm also on Facebook as Meghan Dawson. And that's really it. I'm off of Twitter. I'm not on the TikToks. I can't keep up. But I am on Instagram. And I do respond. I do read everything. So come find me if you feel blessed.
Awesome.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we can feel your spirit, and we are so excited to see you on stage. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to see y'all.
Yes. We'll see you on stage Tuesday, girl.
Yes. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Girl, I'm be crying my eyes out when I go to the show.
I can't. Damn it. I wish I was in show. It's times like this when I'm particularly I'm so pissed that I can't do it.
Well, don't worry. I will fill you in. I'm gonna have to like do every preparation for the show Tuesday for Wednesday morning so I can come in right before the show starts.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna
You're
be
gonna need to sleep in until 4:30. Maybe.
Yes.
Just so that you can do it. But seriously, my mom was a huge Tina Turner fan, huge. So I've been listening to her music for a very long time. So I'm jealous, but I'm also so excited for you.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited. All right, Holly, how can people find you on social media?
Radio Holly. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and by the way, go look at my TikTok, Radio Holly. My daughter Maya yesterday was in the studio with us. We were doing the show, and then afterward, yesterday, also the Wicked for Good trailer came out, and so Maya was like, "I'm doing a recreation right now," and she's like, "Can you film it?" I'm like, "No, oh my god, I'm taking a nap." So she's like, "I'll do it by myself." So up until like the very last few scenes, I had to help her get some different shots. She did the first minute of the trailer. Recreated it herself with like a boot as a hat, as Fiero's hat. Like she somehow like made a separate Elphaba that she had like filmed. So anyway, she's very creative.
I love
that. Posted it on my TikTok. It didn't do as well as I thought it might, considering it was out the same day as the trailer. But go show it some love because she was like, "How many likes did it get?" I'm like, "We're not doing that game."
You're like, "No.
We're not doing that game. It doesn't matter." So we watched it on the big TV too because it was so cute. And so we did that. And then we had to take my fiance to the emergency room yesterday. So her and I did a little TikTok because we were bored in the waiting room. So I've got 2 pieces of content for you to see.
I love it. And mine is at Miguel Fuller. I posted something yesterday that it's been sitting in my drafts for like 3 weeks because I was super embarrassed to share this with the world. About Abe and I's life. So you can go take a look.
I saw it. I love it.
I was like,
"What? You are so embarrassed about that. Who cares?" I do that like on days when I don't force my family to sit at the kitchen table. That's what we do.
I know. I don't know why, but there's just like, I don't know. I just feel very judged. And so when I did it yesterday, I was like, "Whoo." And then I left the house to go run an errand. And I was like, "I'm not going to look at it. I will look at the comments. I will look at the comments. I will look at the comments."
I saw it got some pretty, it's getting some likes.
Yeah. So you can go see it at Miguel Fuller on Instagram and TikTok. And then obviously you can follow Kelvin. He had an appearance today he had to do, but we'll all be back here on Monday. Bye.
Miguel and Holly Uncensored.